Hi, I've done a lot of videos, and this I feel is going to be one of the most profound. And it's going to be about really deep and profound changes and improvements in my life and in the work that I do. And if you stay with it, it's going to open up the possibilities for you of similar, really meaningful changes and improvements in your life. It's about all the work that I've done for 45 years since I, hit my 20s, basically. And we're about to release a whole new branding of all the work that I've done in that 45 years. And it boils down to, well, why? You've been doing so much work for so long. Why do this? And it came down to an email I received last night. And the lady was saying that there was so much she was hearing in the Facebook group from other people about what I do and how they really loved it and how it really significantly changed them practically, and it made a real difference. And she asked me, I hear all this stuff, so what is it that you do? And, I thought up some things and stuff like that. And I woke up in the morning and I was just meditating for a little while, and all of a sudden it went bang, magic. That's what I do. Now, before many of you roll your eyes and, some of my business partners will be going, oh my God, and others will be like excited, but how do we, brand that and frame that in a way that really works with, practical people and business people and people who really want to make a difference in the world in a down-to-earth way, because they're the clients that I work the best with. Let me tell you some stories and share with you some facts and give you a clear idea of what I mean by the word magic. Because there are so many ideas about what that means coming from the past or coming from, magicians doing tricks in the present. And that's not what I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to start with a story that's well known. It's not about my life, it's not about yours, but it is about the life of people whose lives really apply what is happening to you and I right now. And I'm going to tell you the story, very overview, but the fundamentals of the story of Merlin. Not as he's cast in the movies or the books, but how it really happened for him. Now, Merlin grew up and he was an outcast. He was different. He was unusual. He had unusual parents. And he, he's the archetypal magician to a lot of people. So you'd think, oh, great, all we had to do is wave his wand and da-da-da-da. But similar to Harry Potter and similar to many of us and many people who are different, his early years were difficult. And then he found someone who got him, who saw his potential, who was outside the set, outside the everyday consensus, who got him, who saw what his potential was, who helped him click in and understand his dream. And within a few years, he was making an incredible impression on that time, to the point where a lot of older magicians were, because magicians were considered a very important and job category in those days, if you want to put it that way. There was a lot of space made for them, and they were somewhat held in awe and, feared a little bit. There are things like that now. And the older ones, were a bit scared by this young up-and-comer and tried to shaft him, actually. And because he really, truly was one, it wasn't like he was claiming to be a magician. He just was someone who was able to change things, reality, whatever you want to call it, change things with the power of his imagination. Now, again, when I use those terms, imagination isn't the weak little visualizing thing that most of us think it is. And he didn't do it with his imagination, he did it with the power of his imagination. And he changed things in the real world, not just in imagination. He took the power of that and applied it in the real world. So that's the first thing to get. Someone who's a natural magician has a very powerful imagination, and it has access to that power, but they use it to make a difference in the real world, not just to get lost in fantasies of what should be, what could be, what is coming, but to deal with what's actually here. Anyway, he dealt with those critics and competitors, became very influential in several kingships, in several kingdoms there, and in their development. But he had a long-term vision of something better. And the opportunity came at one point, not the way you would think it would come, but it came in what seemed like not a great thing, a misuse of power. But he saw the potential to turn that into the awakening of something that really did, that really would make a difference. So he went with it, and out of that was born a young boy who he took care of. He engineered things in the real world. He negotiated in the real world in a way that he got to take care of this boy. And he taught him what it takes to truly be a king, but in a very natural, healthy environment, not in a toxic, political, cutthroat environment. And he taught this young boy the lessons, 12 of them, to truly be someone capable of being a great leader. In those days was called a king. But that wasn't the end of it. Then he gave him some tools to work with, and he got those tools because he'd earned the right for them. It's called Excalibur and various other things, pulled it out of the stone. And Merlin set that up. Again, real results in the real world. And then Merlin worked with Arthur while Arthur had to go out in the real world, because he was only young, and establish through experience 12 battles that he really did have the ability to bring peace to the kingdom, or to that world they lived in. And he did it, but he didn't do it alone. At each stage, someone stepped up and became one of his knights who really helped him apply that in the real world. So he had the ability to act, but he was also able to attract people who could support him in doing that. And gradually, He put it all together where peace came to a land that had been in chaos for 50 years. And then Merlin comes in and does some relationship work, brings Guinevere and Arthur together. They click. Guinevere brings in the round table. They get married. And, through Merlin, in a sense, advising, pointing in the right direction, encouraging Arthur to work with Guinevere, allowing Guinevere to do her thing, not fight for power, but demonstrate and share her wisdom and her power as a woman, and empower Arthur and the knights by bringing this round table in. Then together as a team, they created this amazing, place where they could truly not only bring peace to the kingdom, but they created Camelot, the centre from which they could rule that and establish peace and do all the things you have to do for things to work in the real world with human beings. And then when, they were going great, but who knew whether it was going to be sustainable? Merlin got Arthur together and suggested 5 of his knights go off and find this thing that we know these days as the Grail. But the thing about the Grail is it gave the ability to Arthur and the knights and the women of the kingdom, because they played an incredibly powerful role. They were the ones who empowered the men to do what the men really were designed to do, what they were good at doing. But without them, it would have descended back into the chaos that was. And they brought, what the Grail represented was the ability to sustain the kingdom long term, not just to have, a rise and a great time and then, well, okay, now we've got here, what are we going to do with it? Gave them the ability to sustain their energy long term. Now, the one mistake both he and Arthur made was this. Merlin never taught the magic to Arthur. And because Camelot was at a time in history where it was ahead of its time, eventually it folded. And Arthur couldn't grow beyond a certain point as a leader without really knowing how to do the magic himself. Now, what was the magic? It was, in simple terms, and this is my favourite definition, it is using the power of your imagination. And that power, comes from love and will. You cannot have all love and no will. You cannot have all will and no love to be powerful. So within imagination, there is so much love and so much will to draw upon. But then what do you do with it? You bring it into the real world. And my favourite definition of magic, get the best and highest use out of every situation and every person. It's exactly what they do when they value real estate in a city or out in the country. What is the best and highest use of this piece of land? Identifying that and bringing that to fruition, that's magic. Finding people who've got gifts, bringing out their leadership qualities on whatever level that is, working with them while they go through experiences. These are facts. Every business person, every human being who studies personal growth and development, teachers, even in politics and that you see it. In families, in communities. You bring out, but you walk with them through the experiences while they attract and bring in the support that they need to bring in for it to work. And then you hang around while they really get to the job of, developing the business and then sustaining it long term. And then you don't forget, these days, because this was 1,500 years ago, the timing's right now. You don't forget to teach other people how to do that for themselves. So what's the modern word for magicians? For me, it's investors. Now, I'm not saying everyone out there who's a professional investor is a magician, but the best bring out the best in people, in situations, in companies, in countries, and, they fulfill the role of magicians. They work magic because with the power of their imagination, they bring out the best and highest use. They do things with resources, with people, that people go, even the people themselves go, I didn't know I was capable of that. And this is a thing that's most needed. Here's another fact. I've been criticised because a couple of years ago, right, I had this spark because I was full of enthusiasm and ideas and I knew how to, and they go, now, you've lost the spark. Yeah, why? Oh, I've got a family, I've got kids, big family, I was single then. It was like down to earth. And they go, yeah, I'm sure you're growing out of that, but hey, there's talking the talk. Whenever you do anything, whether it's personal growth or business or anything, people talk about it. You talk the talk. And then you talk the walk. How are we going to do this? And then what people do is they go, well, the way to do this is the way I was taught in this seminar, or it's in this system. Like I've worked with human design, with numerology, with science, with business. I've trained with some great business people. Healing a little bit. I've known some great healers. Metaphysics, spirituality, I've known some great teachers there, real world stuff. And it's like you get all these ideas and then you walk the talk. And I was told I don't walk the talk. And it's true. It's a damn great observation. I no longer walk the talk because when you walk the talk, you're trying to make happen what you think should happen. You're trying to interpret business or relationships, dating information. You're trying to interpret things like human design, tools for really understanding how you're designed to do the way you think they should be done. Hey, I've read this, I've studied this, I've had some experiences, this is the way, and I've got my idealism. And that's a really important stage, and it's important to go through that. I've been there. But there's a difference when you walk the walk. That's when it gets real. And that's where it seems like some of that idealism and enthusiasm fades. The spark, the fire goes from being a spark to being a raging fire and then matures. And it's just a mature, even what they would call old fire. But that's the most beautiful stage of all. Walking the walk where you run a business, you love your partner, you build a community, you live your design, you understand your purpose because it is you. You're just there living it, doing it, building it, enjoying it. And you don't get all revved up. It brings you down to earth. It's incredible. It's truly been one of the most satisfying experiences of my whole life. Because the fact is, each one of us want to experience the best and highest use of our gifts. You know, in simple terms, where's the magic in my life? Because that's the magic. So with that first thing, check out, here's what I suggest you do. Check out what we do this next week. Or if this is months later, check out what we're doing. Right. Now, what are we doing? The brand is turning not from Christopher Power does human design and Christopher Power does this or whatever. We're calling it action, attraction, integration. Subtitled, Living Life with Power and Purpose. Now, if you go, remember back to the story of Merlin's life, what was he doing? Action, attraction. That's what he was teaching people, Arthur, to do. What are the actions? How do you attract the support you need to do those things? How do you put it all together? When it is all together, how do you sustain it? When you grow older and really mature, how do you take it to the next level? You pass that on. It's how those three things, each one of us is designed to do something and to do very specific things that we're gifted with doing. Attracting the support that you need to do what you, and being able to discriminate which support will support you doing what you're designed to do and which support you need to let go. Huge, important distinction. And how do you put yourself in the place where you're most attractive to what you need to support you doing what you're designed to do, what you know is right for you to do? And then how do you put it all together? Now, this has been my life's work, way before I knew about your design or people's design. Way, way, way back. You know, I went to school, I was an athlete, I got, really good marks in sciences, went to university. I did all the right things. And some of them just unfolded. But I wasn't getting the support I felt I needed to do what I was in me to do. I just felt that, so I went looking for it. And that was a long period of my life. And now in the last few years, it's coming all together. But within that process, I worked with some of the greatest teachers in the world. I did some amazing things in designing ways of doing things, working with numbers, working with things like astrology, but in the real world. How does that really affect you? What's the practical application of that actually works and doesn't get us all hung up on, oh, I'm not into astrology. It's like, hey, I don't care what it is. This thing works. Right? I did that throughout. I don't want to make this video too long because I want to get to the point. What is this brand? It is the integration of every step of every phase of my life. When I developed working with numbers, there were the active numbers and the attractive numbers, and the numbers that helped you integrate the two together. I wrote a book 15 years ago. How long was it? 20 years before that, I came up with the whole system. And the book was titled Action, Attraction, Integration. And one of my business partners, Cheryl, really accurately pointed out, that's what you do when you work with people's design. That's what you do when you work with anything that you do. You show them how to act in a way that works for them. You show them how to attract what they need to act in that way and to be supported in acting that way. And you show them how to put it all together. You show them how to get the best and highest use of their gifts or their business or their family or Whatever's going on in their life, practically, that's what you do. You show them how to live with power and purpose. So we all decided, let's rebrand it. Let's tell the truth. Let's put it out there, what I really do. You know, I might call it magic. That may or may not work for you. But if I say, I can show you what you're designed to do and how you're designed to do it and operate that way, how to make great decisions in what you do, how to attract the support, how you're designed to attract the support, how it's already built into you to pull to you the support you need to do that way, and how you tell the good support from the bad support, and then how to put it all together. You know, since I started working with numbers, which was 35 years ago, it's all I've been doing in so many different forms. But the flexibility enables me to then come into your form and work with what's important to you and bring the magic, bring, you know, the practical input that you need to bring the best and highest out of your gifts. You don't have to follow my system. I help you discover yours and implement it and put it together. That's what makes a real difference. So what are the facts with this new brand? Well, everything, the websites, it's not all going to change overnight. We're not doing a shut the door and open it again next day with a completely new shop or a completely new brand. It's going to be a gradual transition in the websites I work with. You know, we're going to not so much go da-da, but we're just going to build it. And you can see that we live, we walk our talk, we put it together slowly and surely in a way that really we discover what we're here to do and what's the best and highest use of our gifts. You know, I've got some great people working with me. You know, Daryl Reeves has been an incredible friend and mentor to me and has incredible decades and decades of experience in business, in startups, in stage presentations for thousands and thousands of them over 20, 30 years to hundreds and thousands of people. You know, he's a gifted presenter. He's got vast business experience, and he's a really good person because he's true to his nature. He and I have worked together for 3.5 years. He's an amazing asset. Cheryl Daly, brilliant trainer, a great trainer. Miners in Australia, really down to earth, all the way to, you know, alternative people going on retreats or doing workshops, business branding, all this sort of stuff. This is really practical, what we're doing. And then I'm going to bring in what some people might label the woo-woo stuff, but turned into real tools for working magic, as I've described it. Things that can, with the power that's available within imagination. And real imagination does not clash with logic. Logic and reason are a major part of real imagination, as is passion and compassion, as is being in touch with the real world and having body, you know, being in your body. You cannot work as a human being with imagination if you're not in your body. When people say you're off in your imagination, you're off. You can go and dream and vision in your imagination, but you've got to bring it back to the real world or it's lost. And you've got to apply it in the real world. There's so much I could talk about there. But within that, there's so much power that can benefit us now. So, fact, that's going to start with a brand new edition of Action, Attraction, Integration, the book. That's going to be coming out in the next week or two. It's probably out if you're watching this any longer past that time. Check it out. We've edited it, brought it down, made it useful to really explain what Action and Traction is really about. It'll be available Amazon. It'll, hopefully it'll go viral everywhere. Because this is important stuff now. We can't just act. We can't just attract. I've been in both sides. I've been brought up in a conservative family. I've been in the woo-woo world. You can't do just action, just attraction. You've got to put it together in an integrated way. You can't be just alternative or conservative. You've got to be bringing the best of both worlds, because that's what creates something greater than either of them. So there's other books I'm going to be putting out over the rest of the year and next year. But they're also new products. And we're doing a live event in Thailand in July. I'll tell you about that more in a few minutes. But here's what I want you to take from this little section. Check out what we're doing in the next week. Yeah, that's great. But go for very practical outcomes. That old saying, before enlightenment, carting water and chopping wood. After enlightenment, carting water, chopping wood. Still have to come back to go for very practical. If you're into growth and evolution and saving humanity and changing the world, change yourself, change your world, practically. Bring improvements to that. Learn what you need, how you operate, so you can do that. Go for very practical outcomes. Even if you're going to sit in the Himalayas and only, meditate and only speak to one person, or don't speak to anybody, have a practical outcome. That person who comes to see you, give them something real to do. If you're just there with the elements, change the elements. This is really what the world needs now. It's love, sweet love with practical outcomes. Now, just to finish this off, we're developing brand new products. Now, this is based on how my life developed. I was trained in very good schools, extremely good schools. Went to top university where I lived. Got an honours degree in down-to-earth geology and geophysics. Went out and explored everything from the hippie movement to business to teaching. I was a very, very good teacher. Because I got great results, not because I thought I was good. But the kids told me afterwards that it really made a major difference in their lives. I've been in business, I've trained with business people, I've done all this sort of stuff. But the real thing was working out what are the tools that people need that are going to help bring magic to their lives, to really improve, to bring the best and highest use out of themselves. And now we're taking the products that I've developed over 35 years and the ones I've been working with over the last 10 years, particularly to do with design and your design, how you're designed to operate, how you're designed to make great decisions, what you bring to the table as your unique gifts, how to receive the support you need to do that, and what is the unique point of view that you can share with the world, and how the hell do you take care of your body so that you enjoy your life as being yourself, and that empowers your mind to be even more imaginative, to be more effective without having to carry the burden of the world on its shoulders, of trying to figure out how to live life. See, in 35 years, I've had one thing to achieve, one thing to really explore, one opportunity. What works, what gets results for real people in the real world. And I don't mean the results you think you want. Now, there's this huge distinction, because that often leaves people unfulfilled. So what gets the results that will really fulfill you, whether you even understand what that is or not, whether you know what that is or not? How do you identify it? How do you, if you can't identify it, how do you move in a way that you get taken to that place? How do you take a great business and make it exceptional? Because you're having an exceptional experience in it, and your staff are bringing out the exceptional in them. And I can say in my own life, thousands of clients now that I'm working with for 6 months at a time, some even more, some sign up for another 6 months, I'm getting the best results I've ever got. My family is starting to expand and explore. You know, I inherited them. You know, you could call them my partner and my stepdaughter, stepson, and all the family. But they're blossoming. And the fulfillment, and all of you who have children understand this, I'm a late bloomer, the fulfillment there in watching other people shine and discover their gifts, that's results. And then the results of what they do because they love it just, you know, bring in new technology, bring in, see, Merlin as a magician didn't have access to the technology, to the levels of, I'll just call it the levels of magic that we're capable of, the levels of development and change and improvement, you know, getting the best out of not only ourselves, but each other, not as couples, as small businesses, as large businesses, as communities, as countries, as a world. It's not going to happen by us all agreeing to think the same way. Not at all. But there is a way we can weave together where within our differences so much can be achieved that we haven't even dared to imagine yet. We wouldn't even know to. And yet it comes down to, you know, my daughter, stepdaughter, my daughter yesterday graduated out of, not high school, but the one before that. And to see her smile and her pride, so much pride within me, so much, I made a difference there. I made a real difference to that person. That's what turns me on. And that's what turns me on working with you, with clients. And that's going to sweep the world because it turns on human beings. Having the opportunity to do that by getting in touch with the greatest resources that you already have and then using them in the best possible way and attracting the support to use that at an even higher level and then putting that all together, action, attraction, integration. It's powerful stuff. It gets results. 69 years I've been around and I can testify, Daryl will love this, I can testify that's a fact. It gets results where it really counts, where it really matters. Now, the products we're putting together, some of you have heard of Master Design. This is my 6-month program where I work one-on-one with people. Best results I've ever got because, hey, if you're going to give birth to a baby, it takes 9 months. If you're going to make a difference in somebody's life, you've got to spend significant time with them, working with their experience, helping them understand the reality behind whatever wisdom and knowledge and tools that you bring. That's why Master Design, I'm not interested in mastermind groups. If we haven't mastered our design, our minds hasn't got any roots. It's got no connection with the real world. So many mastermind groups just waste their time on things that don't work in the real world. And it's fine to brainstorm and come up with, but then what about bring it down? Will this work for you? Will this work for you and you? And are we all in alignment with this? And are we making decisions in the way that works with us so we can trust those decisions? Master design. I've had people also ask me for master design for teams. It started with someone in Australia saying, hey, look, $5,000 for 6 months. My partner and I are starting the business and we've got a couple of key team members. Could you do something for that? And I said, look, up to 5 maximum people. If you've got a common goal, not just 5 random people who might not even get along with each other, but if you've got something you're working on together, or even if you're great friends and you've got things that you share that you want to work on, so there's already rapport between you. You can work things out with each other. If you want to do master design as a team, hey, it's just a little bit extra work for me. Right? And then there's consultations. Hey, I've been doing that since 1983. I love it. It's great. You want a consultation, that'll still be available. And then the Thailand event. Running, the introduction's the 19th of July, 4 days from the 20th to the 23rd of July. Very, very powerful time in any year. Now, master design. Up until now, I've been charging $4,300. Master design for an individual. Master design for teams, we're planning on going, well, for each person, add on $1,000. But I'm going to suggest something. If you're still interested as an individual, come along now, because in a few weeks, I'm just going to I'm serious about this. I'm going to raise the price to $5,000 for 6 months. It's worth it. And it's about time I acknowledge, the value of the work that I do. Master design teams, if you want to do master design as an individual for the next week or 2, I will give you $4,300. Master design teams, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, $5,000 for the next couple of weeks. You get in now, that's an amazing deal. The only stipulation is you have a common goal. That's something that unites you, even though each of you are individuals. Because I want to work with people who, as I improve their lives, it's going to make a difference to the lives of so many people around them. It's going to make a difference to your business, your community, your family, your life, so that you can open up more of what you have to others. You can be the Arthur in your community, the Guinevere, and all the other women that I haven't talked about yet in the legend, because that's where the power comes from. The men are strong, but the women have the power. They don't have to get it. They just have to get in touch with what they already have. Now, that's the offer for till the end of the month. But there's only so many I can do, so I'd strongly suggest, if you're interested, contact me now. Because I can only do so many of these. It's not like I can do endless numbers. I'm not trying to recruit tons of people. Right? Consultations, we're going to be raising the price soon, because we're going to restructure them a little bit so they're even more effective. Now, the Thailand event in July, Now, we're so excited about this. At the moment, we may change it, but it's design your ultimate life and business. It's going to be strongly business oriented, but if you are wanting to take your life to the new level, you're going to love this. It's a 4-day boot camp experience. It's more a conference. Later on, we're going to have opportunities to go literally into communities in Thailand, you know, real down-to-earth people living real lives. That'll be for some of you. Some of you will love that. Others of you go, forget it. Just give me the facts. I'll go and get my business, my community, my everything running. But this is going to be a great experience. Daryl's description of it is, look, it's 4 days to understand yourself, your strengths and opportunities, and how to work best with those around you in dynamic and real life terms, in leading edge and useful ways that will transform you. Everyone's going to benefit, and you're going to be the greatest beneficiary of the whole thing. This is not about save the world and lose yourself. This is about get the very best out of you and your business and the people around you. So we're going to have an early bird special on that. Let us know now if you're interested. First person I mentioned it to said, I'm coming. I thought, that's a good omen. That's great. So if you're interested in that event, stay tuned, but let us know now, because we can then plug you into early bird special offers for that. It works both ways. It'll help us set the whole thing up, and it'll help you because it'll give you a great deal on something that's truly going to get you in touch with your magic. Hey, you know, if you don't like the word magic, get you in touch with your best and highest expression of who you truly are. Bring out the best in you. So any of those things, let us know. Let us know about Master Design if you know, and do it now, because we do have to raise the prices. It's just where we're at in terms of developing. But we're only raising the prices because we have already taken the value through the roof. So we have to acknowledge that. If you get in now, you're going to get a great, great bargain. And you're going to get the very best out of who I am with yourself or your team. And if you're interested in the event, then you're going to see what a team is truly capable of in helping you get very practical outcomes. So I'll leave it at that. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and look forward to working with you and talking with you again soon.